The most recent of these, this £240 million defence contract, which has piqued the attention of various members of parliament in recent weeks, is a contract that was awarded without competition to this company whose co-founder had a documented significant financial relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and whose UK market entry was facilitated by a lobbyist in the form of Peter Mandelson's company, and a lobbyist who we know is now being investigated for allegedly leaking secrets to that same individual. And this is precisely the scenario that concerns the public, and that our systems need to be better at preventing and defending.
Palantir Technologies, the American data analytics firm co-founded by controversial Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel, has been awarded more than £650 million worth of UK government contracts. It's working in some of the most sensitive areas of the state, from the NHS to the Ministry of Defence, including management of nuclear weapon systems and police intelligence. All of that according to Transparency UK, a non-profit charity. Palantir's increasing prominence as a valued partner of the UK government has come under increasing scrutiny as a result of disclosures in the Epstein files released by the US Department of Justice, because they've revealed a financial and personal relationship between Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein. And they've also cast new light on the networking of former British ambassador to Washington, Peter Mandelson. Transparency UK says Mr. Mandelson was in the forefront of forging connections between Palantir and the UK government. Undoubtedly, Palantir did use the services of Global Counsel, a consulting and lobbying firm co-founded by Mandelson. Peter Mandelson, it should be said, has denied all allegations of wrongdoing. Opposition politicians have called for the government to halt public contracts with Palantir amid growing concern at the lack of government transparency over the awarding of its UK government contracts. A spokesman for Palantir said its software is helping to deliver better public services in the UK. That includes delivering more NHS operations, helping Royal Navy ships stay at sea for longer, and helping the police tackle domestic violence. Well, Daniel Bruce is head of Transparency UK, and he joins me now. Daniel Bruce, welcome to the Times at One. Palantir is a cutting-edge, successful global data analytics and AI business. It is hardly surprising, is it, that it is doing some serious work for the UK government?
Yes, good afternoon, Stephen. I think that the question that we so often see the general public, the electorate, asking themselves in situations like this isn't necessarily always about the quality of the contract or the expertise of the companies involved that are spending public money on our behalf, but it's so often about how they got to the front of the queue to be in a position to do that in the first place. And the successive list of Palantir contracts that you've mentioned in the introduction have that all too familiar combination of wealthy individuals, their access to political decision-making and power, their ability to win these significant public contracts, and so on. And the most recent of these, this £240 million defence contract, which has piqued the attention of various members of parliament in recent weeks, is a contract that was awarded without competition to this company whose co-founder had a documented significant financial relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and whose UK market entry was facilitated by a lobbyist in the form of Peter Mandelson's company, and a lobbyist who we know is now being investigated for allegedly leaking secrets to that same individual. And this is precisely the scenario that concerns the public, and that our systems need to be better at preventing and defending.
Yeah, Palantir have responded to some of what you've said in the recent past by pointing out that the Ministry of Defence contract you talk about, a very significant one, was actually a renewal and expansion of a previous contract going back to 2022. So you characterising it as something done without tender is perhaps a little misleading. Also, they point out that their NHS contract was won in a competitive tender process. So again, you know, they are a successful company. They seem to be winning contracts with governments all over the world. Maybe you just have a problem with them because you don't like the political views of Peter Thiel.
No, not at all. This is a quite simply, we're a non-partisan, impartial organisation concerned with holding power to account and ensuring that there is transparency and accountability in our decision making. If you go on the Government Contracts Finder website, you can find very clearly the defence exceptionalism rationale that was applied to the defence contract in this case, which shows very clearly that it was awarded without any competition. It also followed a meeting that Peter Mandelson facilitated at Palantir's headquarters at the beginning of 2025 with the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. No minutes were kept of that meeting, which is a breach of the rules around such lobbying and access. And
that does seem quite significant that Starmer's only meeting sort of beyond the Trump administration and that February 2025 mission to the US was with Palantir. Have you gotten any closer to finding out exactly what was discussed in that meeting?
No, because we don't know. Because there is no detailed record of that meeting, as there should be. We just know that the meeting occurred. We only knew that long after the event, and then this contract was renewed towards the back end of 2025. And again, when you look at the contract information, you can see that its direct award was justified on national security grounds. And this is an issue that we at Transparency International have researched very thoroughly globally and documented across the world over many years now, when defence procurement is treated as exceptional. And it shows that when you get features, as you see in this case, where you've got direct awards, you've got undisclosed meeting, revolving door between former members of the government and a contractor, and a blanket national sanction on transparency, that all of these things are a recipe for at least the risk of corruption in public money, but also that erosion of public trust that the contracts are being awarded in the correct way with transparency and accountability that they should have.
Given the concerns you're voicing to me, are you pushing for some sort of blanket ban on future contractual relationships between Palantir and the British government? Because if you are, you could be jeopardizing what Palantir claims is extraordinarily valuable work they're doing, not least right now with British policing. They say that they are running programs that are absolutely improving and enhancing the police's efforts to combat, sex trafficking and the dark web potential that criminals are using to conduct sex crimes.
No, not at all. We do not take a position on the individual company and whether or not they should be, it's up for government to form its own view on whether or not it wishes to continue contracting with Palantir. This is about the system that provides the standards to ensure that public money is spent transparency, that procurement decisions are free from improper political influence, and that the public can have confidence in how government is awarding contracts, in these cases worth many hundreds of millions of pounds each. You don't have to look very far into recent history when one looks at the scandal of PPE and COVID testing spending in the now notorious, later declared unlawful VIP lane that was used by the former government to award contracts during the COVID crisis, to show the risk that unfit for purpose procurement processes and a lack of transparency pose to effective spending and safeguarding of public money, and assurances that the right companies are getting to the front of the queue. What this whole situation looks like, it again, is that combination between wealth, political influence and access that gets this company to the front of the queue, as opposed to a process in which the public can have confidence.
Just one more thought. Palantir is absolutely adamant that it safeguards and protects all of the data that it gathers doing its work for the UK government, whether it be in the Health Service or the Ministry of Defence. Do you have any evidence that there's reason to question that or not? Because this isn't just about Palantir. All of the big tech companies that are doing work like this, of course, have a duty to absolutely protect the data that can be so very sensitive. I just wonder whether you think they're doing a good job of it.
No, we haven't formed a view on that. That's not our area of expertise. These companies have got to provide robust assurances to government contracting process that they are able to do that. One observation I would make is that one of the challenges we see with government outsourcing in a general sense is that once public business is being conducted in the private sector, there is far less transparency and scrutiny, for example, through the reach of the Freedom of Information Act to ascertain companies are going about delivering these public contracts. And that's something that we have called for improvements on. For improvements upon in recent months and years, in light of some of the other concerns that we've seen in this space, and so it is ultimately, again, it's quite hard to ascertain in a general sense how public business is being conducted and delivered when the private sector is delivering it, and it's not within the reach of the transparency mechanisms that we have when it's being done directly by government.
All right. Well, Daniel Bruce, head of Transparency UK, we appreciate you joining us on The Times at One. Thank you very much indeed.